Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring Casting the Runes. If you haven't seen part 1 of my review, featuring this tabletop RPG of occult investigations in the world of M.R. James, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about character creation. In Casting the Runes, player characters are called investigators. It is interesting to note that M.R. James only referred to two of his fictional protagonists as investigators, Mr. Somerton the Antiquary in The Treasure of Abbot Thomas, and Mr. Lake in an episode of Cathedral History. As well as an occupation, all investigators will have a social role or class, and a drive that motivates them. Their social class is usually, but not always, dictated by their occupation and social role. Their drive is a personal impulse, character trait, or defining flaw that motivates them and pushes them through all the twists and turns of investigations, sometimes literally driving them to their doom. As a starting player, you get to choose your occupation and your drive. Your game master will usually decide how many build points you get to build your set of abilities, normally a function of the number of players. Unlike some other role-playing games, there are no characteristic roles and skill percentages. Almost every aspect of your character is a function of your abilities, and health and stability are especially important. You also get to define your sources of stability, the pillars of your existence that fortify you when facing the eldritch and arcane. The rest, hair color, dress style, sporting affiliations, etc., it's up to you. When an investigator is created, the game master gives the player a set number of build points, usually determined by the size of the group of investigators. These are assigned to the investigative abilities, the core skills and capabilities of each character. Players start with 1 point each in stability and health. Some of these abilities, the occupational abilities characteristic of the investigator's chosen occupation, are available at a 2-for-1 ratio. Players start with a class equal to the lowest limit for their occupation, but any further allocation of initial class is from their build points, on a 1-for-1 basis, not the 2-for-1 ratio for an occupational specialty. Casting the Runes imposes ability caps on certain abilities, for normal human characters of course. This is to avoid unrealistically tough and rock-steady characters with unshakable psyches and rhino-like physiques. This is not a superhero game. Investigative abilities are central to any gumshoe character. They enable you to gather information and drive the plot forward. The number of build points each player spends on investigative abilities varies according to the number of regularly attending players, according to a formula. For example, if you have 2 players, you have 80% of X, X being the total number of investigative abilities the game master includes in the campaign, rounding up. The basic Casting the Runes rules gives 36 investigative abilities, so a party of 5 investigators would receive 18 investigative build points each time, while a party of 3 would receive 22 each according to the formula. When choosing investigative abilities, it is better to get a large number of abilities with fairly low ratings. Even a 1-point rating is worth having. You'll rarely want to spend more than 3 or 4 points on any one investigative ability. You must have an investigative ability at a rating of at least 1 to get useful information from it. Each player gets 60 points to spend on general abilities as well, regardless of group size. General abilities use different rules than investigative abilities. When choosing general abilities, you'll want to concentrate your points among a few abilities, giving you comparatively higher ratings than you want in investigative abilities. You start the game with 1 point each in health and stability. It's somewhat ironic to have a list of occupations for the golden age of the gentleman or gentlewoman of private means, since in Edwardian Britain, there was a certain resistance to the very idea of salaried occupation. You have various occupations such as academic, anthropologist, archaeologist, antiquary, architect, author. There are plenty of them. Even criminal, dilettante, doctor, explorer, gentleman's or lady's companion, historian, lawyer, pretty much anything that you can think of. Now, when it comes to drives, you have things such as adventure, altruism, fair play, greed, feudal spirit, truth, justice, resentment. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about abilities. I like how the character creation system is simple enough, but you end up with some very nuanced characters. In M.R. James' stories, I always got the sense that the protagonists were quite knowledgeable in various fields. And I think this system of character creation represents that quite well. And there is still quite a bit of room for specialization or customization when it comes to abilities outside of investigative abilities. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, master roleplay and you will master the game. Once again, thank you, and see you later.